Being the best has always been a quest when it comes to the many characters across many stories that most of us read, and that can be for pretty much anything. Be it the best when it comes to saving people, the best in absolute peak of physical prowess of fighting, skill with a weapon, or even something as straightforward as sports. The trials and obstacles that are along this path are always emotional, difficult, and painful. That's why it leads to an effective story from the get-go. Getting better and stronger is a classic tale, but not everyone is on the same path of progressing. There are those who are already at the finish line and have gotten their awards and have had their stories told, and they're bestsellers. Powerful mentors and teachers are ones to fill this role, and within recent shonen years, there has been one that's caught my attention exceedingly. Once our eyes met, it was love at first sight, you could say. I'm talking about the untouchable 40/20 vision sealing your girl and boy, Sweet Tooth Sensei, Satoru Gojo.
大丈夫でしょ。だって君、弱いもん。
Oh, I'm fucking coming.
Okay, enough of me trying to be a wordsmith. Let's just get this right out of the way. This dude is cool. That's a fact. See, like, everyone else can write their paragraphs about how Yuji got that dog in him and more, or how Yuta is a better protagonist or whatever. That's neat. People can fight all they want for who's going to be in second place. There's no getting around that this guy, this man, sits at the top.
Well, if he's so good, how come he's been sealed for over 1,000 days?
No. None of that. Not right now. Okay? We'll get to you later. Alright? Just sit down. Just wait, alright? Gojo is awesome. That's it. He's kind of the real reason I started having an interest in the series to begin with. I say this all the time, but as soon as the anime was announced, I looked a bit into Jujutsu Kaisen, mostly looking at the characters, and the only one who stood out was Nobara. Pretty fun design and style. I had the first 4 volumes for a while, but still wasn't really sure about the series. But then I saw this clip.
No, what you actually touched was the infinity existing between you and me.
Okay, I have to keep reading to get more Gojo. This dude is broken in terms of abilities. Compared to most characters who have powers involving some numerical formula that doesn't really mean anything to just punch or kick hard, Satoru was literally born to be invincible. Hailing from the Gojo clan, a big family within the Jujutsu world, he was born with both the 6 Eyes and Limitless technique. And boy oh boy. First off, the 6 Eyes. It's basically a passive ability, and what it's really known for so far is that it allows you to see everything. No, seriously, literally everything. If anyone were to ever say, "Oh, I would love for perfect vision more," or something along those lines, no, you wouldn't want that. That means you're pretty much seeing cell phone waves, radio waves, and pretty much anything else on the electromagnetic spectrum. That would be annoying, to say the least. And that's what the 6 Eyes can do, but of course on a more Jujutsu basis. So there is a reason for the sunglasses and blindfold he has. Hell, it's said that only really Gojo can wear his glasses. Anyone else would see nothing but darkness. Seeing all that stuff is tiring and gets in the way usually, so the eyes are covered. Unless he needs to be more precise with his attacks, then he takes them off. Which is where the Limitless technique comes to play. Because this and 6 Eyes work extremely well together. And look, this would be the part of the video where I get super in-depth about how this technique works on a meticulous level, but I'm not doing that, since that's a lot to read for something that can be surmised easily for the sake of brevity. So if you still don't really understand how the Limitless works, it's like this. When Gojo says blue, it's pulling. If it's red, it's pushing. Purple, deleting. When you are in eye contact with him for a solid second, his domain expansion, Unlimited Void, will cause you to see everything, and then you die. Oh yeah, and he can, like, teleport. Now, those were just active abilities. The Limitless also has a passive, the Infinity, which is just a permanent barrier around Gojo. Everything that gets closer starts slowing down immensely till it stops. And unless he tells you otherwise, you pretty much can't touch him. There's only a few ways to get past that, but that doesn't mean he's powerless. Using his hands is still an option, and more. So yeah, that's quite a list of busted powers. Again, most users only really have one main technique, but Gojo was born with 2 techniques, and there really hasn't been someone like him in over 400 years. It's safe to say he's a bit special, and that's what drives his character for me. Gojo buys into his own hype so much that you just kind of go along with him. Like, yeah, he is the strongest. He has such a conceited mindset and massive ego that it just works from the way he carries himself. There's never a doubt in his mind because of what he's been blessed with, and from that fact alone, he can always and easily back up what he says. Honestly, when it comes to archetypes like this, it's always a 50-50 for me. Either they're really cool or irritating. But even so, for the others who also make it work, they more or less have the frame of mind of, I'm going to beat you and do this thing to prove you wrong, which in turn makes me superior. And there's nothing wrong with that exactly. However, for Gojo, his attitude is, I'm going to win because I'm literally the best. No questions needed. You want to see me beat you? You want to see me do it again? He's that dude. It's also crazy to think that Gojo is an insane man for the things that he did to Jogo. Just to prove him wrong and more, he basically threw a bomb at him, kicked the shit out of him like a soccer ball, humiliated him, and then again in front of a child, whipped his dick out and eyes to show him up once more, showed the cursed spirit everything, and literally ripped his head off. And Gojo really had the audacity to pull a Batman and say, hey, I still need information from you, while Jogo is still hearing colors and tasting sounds. So later, when it comes to his fight against Toji, which is raw as hell by the way, and I'm also going to warn you now as well, lower your volume for I am about to bust. This man was on the brink of death, disappointed the Grim Reaper, and came back because he Satoru fucking Gojo, slammed Toji with that red technique, and then dropped the best fucking quote. Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one. He's so fucking cool! I'm in it for life now when it comes to Gojo. He's just the strongest. And in all seriousness, I do mean that there is meaning in this line alone. This one simple phrase is what defines Gojo as a character and his presence to the overall story. It's a quote that specifically needs him to state he is the strongest to some degree. And I'm putting emphasis on that because, admittedly, I'm heading towards a tangent. In the dub, they notably say something different.
Okay, give us 10 seconds. Then change right back into yourself.
Yeah, but...
Yeah, don't worry. I'm way too strong for him.
The line is fine. Basic mental math can tell you, oh, Sukuna's strong. He says he's way too strong for Sukuna. Okay. Though, to me at least, it definitely doesn't carry the same weight as I am the strongest. That undoubtedly tells you that there's no one else close to or above him. And I know, it wouldn't have fit the mouth flaps, but I'm sure they could have found a phrase or line for Kaiji Tang, the voice actor, to work with, considering that even he wanted to change the line a bit. And it would have been pretty funny too.
In the dub, I think, like, the client really wanted, don't worry, I'm way stronger than him. And I think that's the one they ended up going with. But I want to guarantee you there's an alternate take where Gojo says, instead of what it ended up, he was like, oh god, what was it? It was, oh god, give me 1 second, It was, my guy, I'm the strongest. I love that take. They didn't understand what that was about. They're like, why would he say my guy? I'm like, please.
It's honestly a nitpick. The overall performance is well done though. So the quote displays who he is as a person. What about to the story? Besides breaking Sukuna's ankles and more, what other way is there to really tell us that he is 100% the best? Well, you can't get much bigger than having the world of Jujutsu back up this notion multiple times from various sources. And someone who's similar to Gojo is All Might from My Hero Academia. Quite frankly, even though I just said that, Jujutsu Kaisen's world isn't really that fleshed out compared to My Hero, even with the recent chapters, as in, we really don't get to see too much of what the public thinks when it comes to Jujutsu or curses, especially when My Hero dives deeper into societal issues a lot more. Anyways, All Might. Japanese Superman, the symbol of peace and justice, the #1 hero, the pillar of heroic society. The fact that he has all these titles immediately tells you, maybe this guy is a pretty big deal. And he is. He could take one step into a city and crime rate would drop exponentially. Though the underlying flaw to All Might being the best was that there were very few who could keep up. There wasn't much of a reason for not just heroes, but for society to go beyond or plus ultra. So if All Might's always there, then there are no problems, right? Kinda reminds me of that one Powerpuff Girls episode. Actually, no, there's two of them now that I think about it. However, the moment he declared his final victory and announced his retirement, only within less than a year, everything started crumbling apart and decaying. Rounding back to Gojo, he's in a similar position. He's peak sorcerer. Guy has a power called the Infinity. Like, where do you even go from there? No one else can keep up. Unless you're this guy, I guess. But even still, Gojo's existence alone was enough to bring the Jujutsu world to a halt. Mostly for curses and to those who use their influence and power for evil. Everyone knows this guy. Doesn't matter if you're a special grade or have knowledge of his abilities, chances of winning against him are low immediately. You can't get any more famous when the entire villain group takes a whole city hostage and the only demand they have is you. That's pretty sick. And well, he had to go and stop him, because no one else can. Though that's an interesting trait about Gojo that separates him from All Might, and what makes him a bit more complex. All Might is a hero, through and through. Gojo is just the best, not necessarily a hero. The Jujutsu world isn't a simple dichotomy of just black and white. People die, and some have to be killed. That's just how the job goes. Transfigured humans are a prime example of this. They're still technically humans, but putting them out of their misery is more ethnically correct than letting them suffer. Killing 1,000 transfigured humans in the span of a few seconds isn't the first time Gojo had to get his hands dirty. As the series started, and from having a teenager die on the battlefield, he casually drops that he could just get rid of them. Those at the top who didn't have a problem with this outcome. Who's gonna stop him? He's fucking Gojo. Or years before, the thought of killing an entire group for the same thing happening. Both of these show his genuine care for wanting the youth to live and surpass and change the future. It's really the only way shit like this can stop eventually. And the biggest moments of when or even he had to stop his boyfriend, I mean best friend, you can take away that, dang, he didn't stop Gato. Now the rest of the series will follow. Yeah, I guess. What you really need to know is Gojo was one muscle movement away from offing hundreds to maybe thousands of people with Hollow Purple. And these are events that could have pushed Gojo into being what Gato would later become. But what stopped them was something only really humans do. Contemplate. Gojo just has all this power and it can't really be used to low effects. It's always the max output. Even by going by almost real life frame data and timing, a blink moment of the infinite void is enough to put a normal person through 2 months of mental comatose. With all that destructive power, it's no wonder Kenjaku and friends had to use a cheat code basically to get rid of him. And by this point, it's been over 1,000 days in real time since he's been sealed. The prison realm made Gojo do one thing that's rare for him. Prove his humanity, and he did. For a flood of emotions riddled his mind like a human in questioning whether or not the only person he had a pure bond with, his friend, was still alive, and that's what cost him his freedom. And despite Akutami not liking him for XYZ reasons, probably just being a meta joke, I do believe that Gojo will be released, mostly from the fact that besides the end of Japan and then the world most likely, it's the reason why our main gang is participating in the Culling Games to begin with, and because they failed to set him free by the end of Shibuya, so they really can't afford to fail again. Though I do think when we get that unboxing chapter, disaster will still follow sooner or later. I slightly theorize that I might be opposing Megami in some way, stemming from this moment right here, which is rather out of place for what happened afterwards, and hopefully this is expanded upon. Or the possibility of losing an eye so the 6 eyes technique won't be so effective, But those are completely different discussions for a different day. You guys get the point. I would give Gojo the meanest sloppy. He's, without a doubt, my favorite character in Jujutsu Kaisen. And at first glance, everything he does seems to be simple on paper. There's really nothing else to read about this guy, because we can't even see his eyes most of the time, the windows to the soul. But the moments we do, it's a lot of information. An overpowered teacher to a complex figure. But once you look behind the curtain and veil, you start to witness that there's more, a lot more. And I could go on and on and on, but due to the infinity, I'll have to stop. The last thing I'll have to say is the only thing you really need to take away from this video, and it's this.
My teacher. If it wasn't for him, I'd have been executed. Oh, and...
Well, I guess I owe him my life. I guess. And also, I'm not the only one, but...
Well, to be honest, I don't really know much about him. I can say this, though. An idiot.
Yup, an idiot.
Salmon.
Flippant. Egotistical. Need I say more? He's... the strongest.
And that is my video on Gojo. Just a fun little video that I wanted to do because, you know, he's my favorite character, and I think just most of the things that revolve around him, you know, his character, somewhat design, his power, and then, like, the few fights that he does have are really, really interesting and cool. So, yeah, I wanted to get that out of the way. And mostly from the fact that next video I'll be doing something a little bit special. But yeah, thank you for watching. That's greatly appreciated, of course. You guys know what to do with all the links that are provided and everything of the sort. Have a great day, have a great night, and everything else, you know what to do. Bye.